Thank you for allowing me to testify today. I certainly understand the need of the supporters of this bill to ensure that the Department of Education is being transparent, is offering the opportunity at all times for the citizenry of this state to offer their advice, opinions, and guidance into the work that we do. That's why we're there to serve. I hope that after I go through this testimony, you'll ask us questions that even if I can't answer them, that I can get back to you on to make sure that we're doing the right things by the state. And for the record, my name is Heather Gage. I am actually the Division Director of the Division of Educational Improvement, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So I'm here to testify in opposition to HB 1397 and to provide additional information to the committee as you consider this bill. By state law, the New Hampshire Department of Education has a dual role of providing regulatory direction and instructional assistance to public elementary and secondary schools, with our goal being to ensure that all school-aged children in the state are provided an adequate education. We believe our mission is to provide leadership and support to educational stakeholders in order to ensure every student acquires the skills and knowledge to succeed in a competitive global economy and thrive as 21st century citizens. This general court has provided focus areas of responsibilities for the New Hampshire Department of Education through its various divisions. One of those, coded in RSA 21N6, which has been already discussed, is the Division of Educational Improvement. I am currently, as I mentioned, the director of this division, and just as the law describes, the following areas are a few of our areas of focus: providing technical assistance and consulting services in both academic and support areas to public education, administering provisions in the law related to special education, administering federal and state programs designed to assist the education of students and teachers, and administering standards for approving elementary and secondary schools, to name a few. This bill implies that the division has eliminated this division has been eliminated. However, all that has happened over several years is that the New Hampshire Department of Education operationally often refers it to the Division of Instruction. And that's through various conversations with the field from time to time about what is your focus area, and it's about improving instruction for kids in a variety of ways that I've just described. All of the intent in the law is intact, and we take the responsibilities and implementation of this law and every law very seriously. Next, the bill implies that the division, quote, oversees 5 regional professional development centers. This is not true, and to my knowledge has never been true, and you'll forgive me if there's any ignorance in that statement, but it's never been true. Some of the PD centers began in order to provide technical assistance in the area of technology. This was back in the 1990s, I believe, and they were actually called tech centers. Federal Title II-D funds help school districts in various regions of the state begin to offer regional support around the area of technology through these funds. However, it is important to note that some PD centers have been around for a long time, such as the one in the North Country, which began, I believe, in the 1960s. The oversight from the state has only been in the area of monitoring financial funds that were provided in grant forms to the PD centers through the local school districts based on their requests. Many school districts opt to participate in opportunities from their local PD centers, which provide them with the networking resources from other educators. Educators determine what they want their PD centers to focus on, and if available can and will apply for allowable funds through the New Hampshire Department of Ed to help them obtain professional learning opportunities. They also apply for grants not associated with the Department of Education. However, they are not, and please let me repeat, they are not commissioned by the New Hampshire Department of Education to provide direction to school districts to implement Common Core state standards or to remediate school, which is referred to later on in the bill. They have, at their discretion and request from school districts, provided opportunities for educators wanting to learn more about the standards and instructional and improvement activities or strategies, just like they have in the past with other standards or prior to the flexibility waiver. School districts are always allowed to request funds from the DOE for learning opportunities, and God willing, if we have them, we want to make sure that they get in the right hands of districts. And those funds can be pooled regionally to serve their needs as long as it is an allowable program or project. So now let's talk about regional liaisons that are working with the DOE, going on its second year. Our 5 regional liaisons are former educators who are tasked with assisting the department in understanding the needs of local districts and schools and providing technical assistance when requested. The most important part of what I just described, again, is when requested. The liaisons do attend regional superintendent, CIA, or curriculum instruction and assessment principal and other meetings at the request of participants to help us ensure transparent communication to the field. These meetings are not directed by the New Hampshire Department of Education at all. These meetings are driven and facilitated by educators in the schools and districts. The liaisons we have contracted with have many high quality skills, including those in the instructional area. However, they are not and have never been directed to force the implementation of Common Core standards or anything for that matter. They serve as communication assistants between the department and the field as requested by the field. Let me also be clear. The state flexibility waiver does not assure that every school district will implement the Common Core standards as described in 2A on page 3 of the bill. In fact, the page reference in the bill is 166 on this matter, and the waiver only goes to 126, thank goodness. However, we do agree that the law states that standards will serve as a guide and a reference to what New Hampshire students should know and be able to do in each area of education, and we articulate that in almost every meeting we ever attend, in almost every opportunity we have. Let me be clear, New Hampshire Department of Education does not require local school districts to adopt or implement the Common Core state standards. The state is required to have standards, and we have chosen through what we felt was a transparent process to adopt the Common Core standards for mathematics and English language arts. The same section of the RSA also states that the General Court requires the State Board of Education and the Department of Education to institute procedures for maintaining, updating, improving, and refining curriculum frameworks for each area of education, such as mathematics and ELA, or English language arts. The state's flexibility waiver does not establish a new governance structure, as the bill describes, over existing school districts, but rather allows us, as the Department of Education, to focus additional supports on those schools that are receiving Title I dollars and who we believe have the greatest challenges. Regarding the release of assessment data, and Ms. Levine, if I could talk behind me for just one moment, I would love to have conversations with anyone who has concerns about privacy. And I have not had that conversation with Ms. Levine at this point. I have a copy of a letter that I will send around, recently sent to Secretary Duncan, reiterating our state's and many states' commitment to not sharing personally identifiable information with the U.S. Department of Education. However, it is important to note that this kind of information has never been requested from the U.S. Department of Education. We do share aggregate assessment results as long as it doesn't go below a certain N size or a certain number of students that could be personally identifiable, such as how many students were proficient at the 3rd grade. Nothing in our agreement with the U.S. Department of Education or Smarter Balance requires the release of personally identifiable information. We take student privacy very seriously and have worked diligently with Representative Kirk, which I'm assuming we'll hear that bill soon, to ensure that we are doing all that we can to make sure that our student identity is protected. That is a very, very serious concern of ours, and we are certainly taking that seriously. There was a reference to the agreement with Smarter Balance, and if you will look at a footnote that is attached to a section that was described, it says that this does not supersede state law. And our state law has and will continue to protect student privacy given your guidance in that area. So that is all that I have. I'm sure that there are questions that I would love to take. What's your discussion?
First of all, you have written testimony?
I do, and I just noticed a couple typos, but I'm happy to pass that on.
And the rest of the members of the committee would appreciate your testimony. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
I do have one copy, but I'm happy to email the rest of the committee.
Very thorough and detailed. Representative Vick, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. In light of what you just said, my background was basically with the federal government, and I constantly was being reviewed by an internal audit division or by the Office of Personnel Management. Based on what you said and the other testimony, is there any organization within the Department of Education or within the state that reviews your procedures and makes sure you're following the appropriate law, rules, and regulations?
Absolutely. We have an internal audit division, and we actually are probably on a weekly basis audited in some program from external sources.
And copies of this would be
KGB,
available?
Of course.
Seeing no further questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Myler.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
That's all right.
Mr.
We
Chairman.
might as well resign ourselves to being here for the rest of the afternoon.
The issue of privacy is a key issue.
I believe so too.
And if I understand your testimony, you said that the department has a kind of an ironclad policy that deals with aggregate information that does not provide any opportunity to get individual information on student results. Is that correct?
Correct. We have a state policy that this general court has designed, and we follow that very, very closely, as well as internal procedures.
A follow-up. Isn't it true that the consortium that deals with the Smarter Balance has also developed a policy that deals with the issue of privacy that basically says they don't want individual information, only aggregate information?
That is correct, and I'm happy to provide a policy statement to the
Thank
committee.
you.
And I will pass out, this is the letter that we have sent to Secretary Duncan regarding that. And I do have copies of that.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you for